Happy New Year, everybody. Just a quick update with this car. It's due to go for its MOT in the next few days. Really don't know how that's going to pan out. We might get a whole list of failures that we don't know about. But to the best of my knowledge, we've done everything we can. We've dropped these two vents down on here, as you can see. Sorry, it's a bit sunny outside this evening. So we can take this apart. In the back of this unit, you've got two little bulbs that sit in there, in the two little holes you may see at the back there. Just going to try taking those out and swapping them over for some new ones first off. If that doesn't work, I don't know, we'll have to look at the wiring at that. Obviously, as I said before, we've got a nice working head unit now, speakers in the door cards, all the door cards back on, glove box fixed back in, got a shelf put in there. It's a bit of a mess with wiring, still got a lot of wiring I need to run through. It's going to be power cable for the amp. Obviously we've got now a working boot lid, so we can push the button and the boot will pop open. Fixed the seats all back in, obviously, a couple of days ago now. Yeah, I mean, it's coming together. It's still a mess in the back with wiring. Obviously we've put, you know, cables in there now for some different speakers and whatnot. We've got a power supply back there for some amps when it gets to that stage. I'd rather just get it all in now, than I know it's done and ready to go when we need to get to that point, rather than having to take the car apart 10 times, which you'll probably end up doing anyway. You know how it is. But yeah, you can see the steering wheel a little bit better in here today. Got a nice nice boss in here that meets the actual horn button at the back there. Now, one thing I'm most impressed about is when we first put this steering wheel in, the horn would not function, and it drove me bonkers trying to find the cables. Thankfully, a good mate of mine sent me some pictures of his Corsa and the location of the horn, which was located just behind the grille outside. I can have a look out there. And he showed me that we could obviously try and locate the wires underneath the bonnet in this area behind the headlight. Well, there were some wires just tucked up here, and I did wonder why they were there. They had a little multi-way plug on, and I thought, that doesn't look right. It just looked like the plug had been bodged on there. When I picked off all the insulation tape holding the plug together, sure enough, there was a brown and white and a black wire behind. We connected them up, and now we have a working horn. It didn't have a horn behind there. I had to order one off of Amazon, as I mentioned previously, but I've mounted it behind the grille there where it should be, and that should now work for the MOT. Yeah, I think everything I know works for this car. I noticed that the rear lights, the reverse lights, the ones that sit around here, were playing up a little. I find that someone in their infinite wisdom has bonded this on instead of fastening it on correctly. And the water just seems to get down inside the boot lid, and it leaks. But obviously I think this is all going to have to come off anyway, because we've got to paint the boot lid. We need to obviously, this has all got to be dug out. This is getting worse now, where we've had a lot of ice and frost. So yeah, it needs to go to the body shop, have all that dug out as soon as it can. But look, we can now pop the boot lid on a switch inside and it opens up. But yeah, for some reason the water's obviously leaking down inside. It's coming inside the boot area here. it seems to be getting perhaps into the electrics for the lights somewhere, one side or another, down here. And I think that's what's causing the reverse lights to muck up sometimes. So hopefully on the day of the MOT they work beautifully anyway. It's not pretty, obviously. There's the solenoid for popping the boot. Hopefully it'll be covered up nicely anyway, but it does the job. It's not got to look fantastic as long as it is functional. Little silly things like, you know, these number plate lights had fallen off, so I've had to fix them all back on with some 3M tape. I've given it a bit of a clean today because it was starting to look a bit grubby, sat over the Christmas period and whatnot. Yeah, I don't really think there's too much more I can add. You know, I mean, we've added a remote wire running down for the amps through here, you know, with all the cabling. We've added obviously all the cabling to go through to the solenoid at the back, so it operates on the switch, which I'll try and mount underneath this shelf, I think, eventually, or somewhere like that. So it's just pop it there so someone can lift it open at the other end. You know, the same as what we've done with the door, really. You know, little button on the door there, and away you go. So yeah, that's the update on the car. Headlights are all functioning since the auto electrician came. Really happy with that. The indicators work, hazards work. Fog light switch has been a bit iffy. That's hit and miss. It doesn't seem to stay on. If you look on the dash, if I click the button, it should stay on. It just goes straight off. So I'll fish that button out in a minute, just have a quick play with that. But I have got a new one on the way from a guy who's breaking a Corsa that's been fantastic with everything he sent me. It's been really helpful, because we have struggled trying to find silly little things like the screws for these and the little plastic caps that sit over the screws. He sent me some new door handles because ours had been painted and they had been painted terribly. You know, he's been great. He's helped me out with the glove box screws and the little shelf underneath. I think our plan for the seat belts is now they're all in. I think once we've got these all MOT'd and gone through, then we'll perhaps look at, you know, having them retrimmed in a different colour. They sit externally from these pillars at the moment. And what I'd like to do is get the Corsa ones put back in so they sit inside round here, so then they're not going to get caught on anything. You know, what we'll do is we'll use this tongue here. The people who do the seat belts for you, you send your old ones off, they will take these out of the big roller here. We'll send this with it. They can put this new one on the new seat belts and it should fit in our seat belt clips. So that's a plan. Once this has all been MOT'd, get some nice different coloured ones. I mean, there might not be anything, you know, fancy. You're not going to put, I don't think I'm going to put any lime green ones in there or anything like that, but it'll obviously be a darker colour to sort of match up with the rest of the interior once we send these off to be retrimmed. It's all stuff that's going to happen in the future. It's not going to happen immediately. I've only got a limited pot of money, first of all, and second of all, you know, it's obviously, I'm not in any rush to do it, as I've mentioned. You know, I'd like to get the headliner retrimmed. I don't like that horrible colour. I mean, it's got grubby spots on it here and there, and it's just going to look tired. So you know, obviously we've got to try and start doing something with this eventually. It's not going to look like that forever. Can't have a show car with it looking like a bomb site. But you know, it's the cosmetic stuff that needs to be done first of all before it gets any worse, and then we can maybe start trying to show it off a bit. You know, we've got different coloured filler cap and things that need to be addressed, but let's concentrate on the next few days in the MOT station, and I'm sure we can come back with another video about what it's failed on, because we've been looking through and we've actually found a lot of information on the looking up about previous MOTs, and what we're finding is that this car failed an MOT on the headlights not working, and then a day later it went for another MOT and it passed. But that headlight, I'm pretty sure, has never worked since this car was painted white. There was paint all over the damaged wiring, as if, you know, it had been painted and the wiring had never been stripped back and fixed. It said that it went for another MOT and the horn didn't work. But then obviously, you know, the following day or the same day, it passed with the horn working. Well, there's never been a horn in this car since the day it was painted white. We can tell that by the wiring underneath the bonnet was all covered in white paint. When I stripped that electrician's tape off of the horn fixture, we suddenly found that the horn wires were there. So it's had bent MOTs on it for sure. You know, it's not been legit. And I think it's done about 50 miles since about 2008 or something like that. So and you look underneath, the wheel arches are still, you know, got overspray in them. They're not dirty. It's not done any mileage. So it's going to be interesting to see what this MOT pulls up anyway. Don't want to bore you any further. Just thought I'd point out these facts, just so that, you know, you understand a bit about what we found with the car and a bit about its history. As I look round, I can see there's obviously things like this I'd like to get filled up, whether we fill these ones or we find some from the electric mirror version of this car, which seem to be like rocking horse feces, because they've all got these horrible holes in for the, you know, manual adjustment of the mirrors, and I want to get rid of them because just obviously we've got the M3 mirrors, we don't have the adjustment on them there. Anyway, I'll wrap this one up and we shall see you on the next one. Cheers.